Hi everyone, this is Jane and I'm going to be reviewing Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens and reviewing this guy, the Dairy Queen MooLatte. So, ooh, it's very caramelly and I think it's more of a milkshake. It's no real coffee in there, so I don't think, I don't know. I don't taste a lot of coffee. So let's get into our book. I enjoyed this book very much. I think it was very heartbreaking, but at the same time, it was a very endearing coming of age tale of a girl who lives on the North Carolina coast. She lives in the marsh. And the town of Barkley Cove, the town next to where she lives in, is this is all set in the 50s and the 60s, and they're kind of looking at her like a backwards, almost like hill folk, swamp folk. They don't think very much of her, and so it's kind of the story of how she has to fend for herself. And there's a abandonment theme that runs deep throughout the novel. So Kia, how the novel pretty much starts out, sees her mother walk down the road next to her shack, which is, the shack is like a house. It's poorly put together. And she sees her mother walk down the road and just never come back. She abandons her siblings and her father, and eventually her siblings run away and abandon them. And her father ends up abandoning her. And it's a story of how a young girl has to fend for herself, has to learn how to feed herself, has to learn how to make money, has to learn how to take care of herself, all while trying to avoid capture from the officers because they want to put her in school or want to bring her into, into foster care. She lives out in the marsh, and the author did such a wonderful job of explaining the sounds, the trees, and I really felt like I was there. She said a line where it was like sucking sounds pulled at her toes, meaning like the mud, and when she's walking through the marsh. It's definitely a I would never in my normal life think of people who lived out there or what it looked like or what it felt like. And it was such an interesting perspective of something you don't normally see. And this young girl, after she becomes abandoned, what becomes her friends is the birds who she feeds, or the trees, or seashells. This is what takes up her time. And then eventually, as she learns to read, what takes up her time is reading and learning about the things around her. She grows to be a curious, scientific, intelligent, poetic youth, and it's very wonderful to see that side of her. She grows to be very beautiful, and there are boys who pursue her, and one by the name of Chase Andrews. And Chase Andrews is the I guess he's a young man. He's the handsome guy in town. All the girls like him, and he starts pursuing Kia, the main character, but he slowly turns into a villain. And even from the beginning of the novel, we get a sense that this is a murder mystery because someone has murdered Chase Andrews. And it's the story of trying to figure out who murdered him, what happened that night, all wrapped up in the coming of age story of the Marsh Girl. And I thought that the author did a great job keeping the suspense because I did not know till the end what actually happened. And I felt like, I needed more coffee. I felt like the villain wasn't Chase Andrews wasn't a fully developed villain. I didn't really know what he felt for the main character. I had a hard time understanding what was going on. I didn't really quite comprehend why he was doing what he was doing sometimes, or his motives, which reflects on the author not developing her character enough. He was just a jock, You know what I'm saying? I think that there was definitely a missed opportunity there to develop her villain, and it left me wanting more. As for other missed opportunities, there is this plot in the mix of this of like a burnt letter. There was a letter from her mother which was burnt or partially destroyed, and you never know what it says or what was in it. So as you're longing for, the character longs to know what was in there, and you long to know for her, just because her mother disappeared. Where is her mother? What's going on? And it's never, these things are revealed, but the contents of the letter is never fully revealed, which I feel like was a missed opportunity for Delia Owens to reward her readers. It is suggested what's in there, but I mean, it's not quite the same thing. I was like waiting the whole time, like, oh my gosh, what's in there? And I never found out, and it was very sad. Anyway, the story also takes a turn towards this very sensitive and sweet connection between her and a young man named Tate, which I feel was the highlight of the novel. I loved Tate. He gave me a very warm feeling in my heart. I think he was so sweet, so patient, and I got a sense of who he was with his interactions with his dad and how much he cared for the main character, Kia. So I really loved Tate and Kia and their connection, and I feel like that was so rewarding for the reader to have that in there. And this is a very sad story. It's very triggering. You see a lot of children being starved and people being beaten, and there's even an assault scene later on in the novel. So if you don't want to be triggered, you gotta stay away from this one, because it is very, it can be a little traumatizing or re-traumatizing for people. But I wasn't traumatized. I just felt like it was sometimes a lot. You know, it's like Leonardo DiCaprio in The Revenant. How much stuff can you put the main character through is what it felt like. So that was a little much, but ultimately it was very rewarding to see our character grow, and it's very easy to root for her. I would give this book a 2.5. It's not quite a 2. It's okay if you like this sort of thing. It's not quite a 3 because it wasn't amazing, but I would reread it again. And I would buy it for a friend or give it to a friend, because it was fun, easy to read, easy to follow. You definitely get a sense of the hypocrisy of the town, and you definitely feel her pain, and you definitely feel her abandonment. So I think it was well written, and even if you saw the film, you should go see it. This has been on I was confused about it because someone said it'd been on the New York Times bestseller for 168 weeks last year, and now I looked today and it's been on the New York Times bestseller. It's spot 9 on the New York Times bestseller list of fiction for 94 weeks. So I don't know what's going on. I think when the movie came out, it got bumped back up. I think that's what happened, is people got interested in the book after the movie came out, and then it came back on the New York Times bestseller list. Either way, this is sold many millions of copies for good reason. It's something to pick up. And yeah, a wonderful, suspenseful, interesting perspective of people who live in the marsh, you know? So I thank you all for being patient through that. As for this guy, this MooLatte, I don't think I would buy this again. I'm going to give this a 1. It's nice and sweet, but it's like a milkshake. Where's the coffee at? You know? I barely even taste any coffee in here, so that's disappointing, because I want coffee and you call it a MooLatte for a reason. I'll probably end up throwing some more coffee in there from my coffee pot, just because. So the MooLatte, the caramel MooLatte from Dairy Queen, gets a 1, and this book gets a 2.5. So I hope you guys enjoyed the review. If you like it, hit like. If you want to see more of this, hit subscribe, and leave me some comments down below of some books that you may want me to review. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a great day, guys.